Hello, it's a great pleasure to have my friend from England, and I'm from England too, as you probably imagine, Mr. Ballantyne, who's CEO of the British Ports Association. It's a great honor to have him here with us. He was the moderator of the panel discussing about the new era, and I thought it'd be a good idea for us to get his personal opinion of the new era for ports.
Well, thanks, Charles. It's a real pleasure to be here in Livorno in Italy for such an exciting event. And the town, the city has been so welcoming. And the whole of the European ports industry is gathering here for what is a really special occasion. You rightly say the theme of the conference is the new world for ports and what that means. And there are things like digitalization and automation. So you find new ways of shipping goods, new ways of operating ports and terminals. But there are also other environmental factors such as emissions, controlling your footprint on local communities and how ports act as good neighbours. So there's a real case and opportunity there for the ports to drive change, but also to respond to perhaps pressures from communities and local cities and towns.
Let me just ask a question, because we're in a globalization time, very important one. We see people expecting goods to arrive from one day to the next with the internet and everything else. So there's the speed, efficiency. On the other side you have attention to the climate. What's your view on this?
There always has to be a balance, of course. There is going to be challenges overcoming certain things. Increased traffic could have greater environmental impacts, more congestion, more pollution, etc. But I would say that innovation and moves to modernise the logistics chain will have benefits in terms of environmental footprints and efficiencies as well. So it should drive down costs, but we're right at the start of a journey, really. I mean, ports at the moment are in a good place. They tend to be modern. They employ lots of people. They're important to regional economies. But we're in early stages in terms of the kind of long-term digitalization and automation of terminals. And at some point, certain players in the logistics chain, whether it be shipping companies, terminal operators, port authorities, local communities, are going to have to take decisions about investing in new facilities and transport modes. But it's interesting to see whether there's a role for national and indeed the EU, national governments and indeed the EU, to perhaps stimulate and encourage investments and other ways of modernising the logistics chain. But as I say, it's early stages on a certain level, and it's something the sector is alive to, though.
One of the ideas that came out today was for clients or opting and paying for the green transportation. Do you think that people who are buying their goods on Amazon are going to be interested in this, or just speed is going to be the number one thing, or people are becoming more environmentally conscious?
Yeah, we all have our personal preferences, of course, and some people will be more aware than others of their footprints. But I think, I would say, particularly in the UK, and I'm sure this is similar in Italy and beyond, there is definitely now that debate and a lot more interest in it. So I think we're as good a time as any to start looking at potential consequences that may lead to slightly slower deliveries or other factors, increased costs. But as I say, the debate is there, and people are alive to it.
Okay, one last question. How do you see the role of port authorities? In Italy we have port network authorities, and this is very much a hot point at the moment. What do you think about that?
Well, port authorities, in our view, and you'll laugh, but as a Ports Trade Association representative, I'll obviously talk up the role of port authorities. They provide hundreds of thousands of jobs around Europe. They cluster economic activity around maritime areas. They're vital gateways for trade. My own country, the UK, we're an island, so it's 95% of our trade is facilitated via our seaports. And as I said before, they provide clusters of economic activity and employment around them. And without them, a lot of coastal communities could be deprived areas.
But there's been a lot of emphasis on port authorities, public with a business dimension now. Port authorities becoming much more commercially active. Do you agree with that or not?
Yeah, well, we've seen that. It's a competitive, as well as a cohesive network of ports we're here, it's also a competitive network. So you would understand that lots of ports have commercial drivers and they'll compete with one another. We're looking to get business and trade from other parts of Europe, as well as growing new trade. And I think it's only right and proper that you get efficiencies in the system through being commercial and looking at your operating models and perhaps evolving with new business models moving forward.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Charles.
Thank you.
Cheers.